No, from there. Have you connected it? Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to feel it. You don't need this thing.
There I am. I don't know. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How is everyone? How are you?
Shalom Rav.
Hello, Dr. Liz. Oh, it's so nice to see you with us again.
I'm so glad that you're doing it tonight.
If you look carefully, we have a special visitor, Rabotai. You remember Victor? Remember our friend Victor? Victor now joined the Special Forces. Whoa. And Victor is with us. Look at him. That's Victor. That's our friend Victor. Look at the smile. Huh? You want to hear him speaking in Hebrew? Menachem, speak to us in Hebrew.
כן, הרב, טוב. אתם שומעים אותי אבל?
דבר בעברית.
מנחם, וואו.
דבר בעברית, כולם רוצים לשמוע אותך.
מנחם, וואו.
מה שלומכם?
Can you believe it? Can you?
Wow, איזה כבוד, מנחם, wow. Oh, this is wonderful.
Hello, Rolf.
Wow.
How are you, everyone? How's everyone?
Thank you.
Is everyone well?
Thank you. Beg your pardon?
Is everyone okay? We're just going to take another few seconds.
All good.
To join us. And then are these more people? Wait, let me see. I'm admitting more people. Mark joining us. 1 second. I'm admitting all the people into the shul. There's another more people. Give me 1 second. They all join. Yes, everyone is on. Okay, so Rabotai, before we start the shul, we have a special welcome to our friend Victor. Menachem, that is Hebrew name, but it's very difficult for me to get used to the idea that I have to call him Menachem, but I'll have to because that is Hebrew name. Menachem, thank you for joining us. And Rabotai, what we try to do, we're going to do a shi'ur on the Nach. And I spoke to Dr. Liz and I spoke also to my friend Rabbi Higel. And they both told me that not many people that study Shiva, if you ask them, none of them, a matter of fact, is very fluent. I don't want to say that they don't know a lot, but none of them fluent on the Nach. So what I'm going to do at the side last week, I done introduction to Yehoshuah, okay, to Joshua. And I'm going to start doing a series of 6 shiurim, and I'm going to go chapter by chapter about the book of Yehoshuah, Be'ezrat Hashem, and to explain verses, what did they speak. So when you look at the book of Yehoshuah, the Sefer of Yehoshuah, you'll have plus minus idea. What are you talking about? Where is Yehoshuah? When was the time? Who was Yehoshuah? And what happened during his time? And what happened in the book of the Nach? So בעזרת השם נעשה ונצליח, והשם עלינו ברחמיו ירוויח. השיעור יהיה לעילוי נשמת הרב Rabbi Tenza, I forgot. אברהם חיים בן יעקב אליעזר, מרדכי בן רחמה, אסתר קדן בת קציעה, ואסתר בת משה, אברהם ולעילוי נשמת אברהם ז"ל, ולרפואת מנשה נג'י בן פרחה, ליאורה בת מרים, הרב אברהם בן מרימה, יצחק בן
Sex, Rabbi. Chief Rabbi Sex. Jonathan Sex.
You know his surname? You know his name? I don't know. לרפואת also יצחק בן טובה, גולדה איטול בת שולמית לאה וחפצי בה חנה בת שרה אימנו. Please God, רפואה שלמה to them, and טלירון בן יהודית. אוקיי, so בעזרת השם נעשה ונצליח, והשם עלינו ברחמיו ירוויח. We're going to speak about the book of Yehoshuah. So who was Yehoshuah? You all know because we done all the summarize. I can't repeat because I done last week a preparation who was Yehoshuah. So I'm going to start straight with the book of Yehoshuah just to give us a bit of a straight idea who we talking, what is the book of Yehoshuah speaking about. So in the first chapter of the book of Yehoshuah, the book of Joshua, we see that after the 30 days that Bnei Israel mourn for Moshe Rabbeinu, the Bnei Israel now getting prepared for the entering to Eretz Israel. That's what basically the first chapter speak. But on verse 1 to 9, on those psukim, on those verses, we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a matter of fact, command Yehoshuah bin Nun to be strong, and not only to be strong himself, is to make Bnei Israel strong and ready to cross the Jordan River. Okay? HaKadosh Baruch Hu also promised Yehoshuah bin Nun that he will be on his side and he will help him to conquer the land of Eretz Canaan, that Eretz Israel. So verse 1 to 9 basically is HaKadosh Baruch Hu command Yehoshuah bin Nun to prepare Bnei Israel to be strong and to string Bnei Israel. What does it mean to be string? To give them the full strength and the full understanding that they're going to enter Eretz Israel and they're going to conquer the land, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be with them. In verses 10 to 11, that means 10 and 11, the last two verses, we see something very important. Okay, in these two verses, Yehoshuah bin Nun now himself, he command the Jewish officer to command the Jewish people to prepare. That means Yehoshuah bin Nun appoint Shotrei Israel, that's the Jewish officer, to speak to the Jewish people, to prepare themselves physically and emotionally before the entering Eretz Israel. The last verses of this chapter, it's chapter verse 12 to verse 18, and those verses Yehoshuah bin Nun actually now speaking to the 2.5 tribe that's gonna live on the outside of the Jordan River, and they are the tribe of Reuven, remember, tribe of Gad, and the half of the tribe of Menashe. And Yehoshuah bin Nun speak to the leader and to those tribes, the 2.5 tribe, and he asked them to fulfill the promise that they promised to Moshe Rabbeinu that they're going to help with conquering the land of Eretz Israel, because that was the promise that they given him. Although that they live on the other side of the Jordan River, they're going to join the Jewish people going to the war to conquer the land of Eretz Israel. The 2.5 tribes, while Yehoshuah speak to them, promise that they will keep their promise that they promise. That means that they will join the war, and not only that, they will listen to whatever he's going to tell them. That means in the last 8 verses, or the last 7 verses, basically, we see that Yehoshuah turning to the 2.5 tribe that's going to live on the other half of the Jordan River, and he asked them to keep their promise that they're going to join the war. That's chapter 1. In chapter 2, Yehoshuah bin Nun now sends spy. Something very interesting, if you look, Moshe Rabbeinu, that was the first Jewish leader, sent spy to Eretz Israel. Yehoshuah bin Nun, that was his servant, his student, sending spy to Eretz Israel. We'll see the difference between the report that Moshe Rabbeinu received to the report that Yehoshuah bin Nun received from the spy, okay? So in verses 1 to 7, the verses tell us that Yehoshuah bin Nun sent spy to the city of Jericho. The spy arrived in the city of Jericho, and they find a place to stay in the house of Rahab. Rahab is a woman that lived in Jericho. She wasn't Jewish, okay? Listen to it to the end. And when they arrived there, they arrived as people, as merchants that sell pots and cutleries and etc. They also prepared themselves and they pretended that they're deaf. So people are not going to be suspicious of them. So they can't hear. And they find a shelter in the house of Rahab. And they stay in the house of Rahab. The rumor that the spies arrive in the city of Jericho arrived to the ears of the king of Jericho. The king of Jericho sent his men, his soldier, to the house of Rahab. And when they arrive in the house of Rahab, Rahab realized that they're coming to catch the spies. She hid the two spies. It was two spies. We'll get to their name shortly. And she hid them on top of the roof. And when the soldier came, they asked her, is here a stranger? She said, yes, they was here, but they left. In the evening, they left. As a matter of fact, they'd gone towards the Jordan Valley. They searched the house, they couldn't find them. And the soldiers immediately start opening a chase to try to catch them. Rahab then called the two spies, that's Pinhas ben Elazar, remember Pinhas, and Caleb ben Yefuneh. Those are the two spies that Rahab hidden in a house, okay? And Rahab now telling them that she preparing them, that obviously they knew that the soldier's king and the soldier know that there is spies in the city, they have to be careful. Rahab was in the age of 50. How do we know that? Rahab born 10 years before Bnei Israel left Egypt, before they gone to freedom. That means Bnei Israel was in the wilderness for 40 years, and before they redeem another 10 years, together is 50 years. That means that Rahab in that age, that Caleb ben Yefuneh and Pinhas ben Elazar Kohen arrived at the house, she was an age of 50. That verses 1 to 7. Verses 8 to 14, and those verses, Rahab, a matter of fact, telling the spies the fear that the member of the city of Jericho are having from Bnei Israel, because they realize that Bnei Israel are going to conquer the city of Jericho. Rahab asking them for a favor. And not only that she asked them, she asked them to take an oath, okay? She asked the spy to take an oath that they must do mercy and compassion with her, that when the Bnei Israel going to enter the city, when they're going to conquer the city of Jericho, they must not harm her, not her father, not her mother, not her brother, and not her sister. And the spies actually took the oath. Now, in verses 15 to 24, we see that Rahab actually now releasing and helping the spy to run away. So how she done it? She took a rope, because her house, the wall of her house was part of the surrounding wall of Jericho. And she had a window on the top. And on that window, she put a rope, and the spies gone down from the rope, and she asked them to go and hide in the mountain for 3 days, while the soldier of the king of Jericho will be back, okay? And then, while they're back, they can go back to the camp of Israel. The Meraglim, now that given the promise to Rahab that they're not going to harm her, and they took an oath that when Bnei Israel going to conquer the city of Jericho, they're not going to harm her. So they're asking her to do the Hut Hashani. What is Hut Hashani? The same window that they gone down to escape from the city of Jericho, they ask her to put Hut Hashani is a red wire on a window. So Bnei Israel will know that that house, they're not allowed to harm. Not only that, the Metzidot Sion, it's one of the commentary that there is on the Nach, he explained that Hut Hashani is a red wire. Okay, so we understand until here. The spies saying to Rahav that they're not going to harm her, they're not going to harm her father and the mother and the brother and the sister in one condition, that they all have to be inside the house of Rahav. That means that those that belong to her have to be in her house, and not only that, they're not allowed to leave the house when Bnei Israel start the attack of the city of Jericho. Otherwise, they have no guarantee that no harm going to happen to him. The only guarantee that they guarantee if she, an entire family and close family going to stay in the house. And they agree to it, and the spy now leaving. The spies managed to leave Jericho, and then they gone back to the camp of Bnei Israel, and they come to Yehoshuah bin Nun, and they reporting to him what did they saw, and they explained to Yehoshuah bin Nun that the member of city of Jericho are really frightened from the attack of Bnei Israel after they saw what Bnei Israel done to all the surrounding kings that tried to stop him. For example, Og Melech HaBashan, and what was his brother name? I forgot. Og and no, it will come to me. And those that surrounding, like the city of Moab, when Bnei Israel fought with Moab, the war of Amalek, and they see it. And they was very frightened. Not only that, the spies said to Yehoshuah bin Nun, look at the difference, that there is a possibility, it's very simple, that Bnei Israel can overtake and conquer the city of Jericho. While the spy that Moshe Rabbeinu brought Lashon Hara, those two spies, Eliezer, Pinchas ben Eliezer HaKohen, and Caleb ben Yefuneh, spoke good. That means given a good report, number one, that the member of city of Jericho are frightened. And number two, that it's very possible to conquer the city of Jericho, and Bnei Israel can take over it. So we see from here the different report. We see from here that was the same, and the similarity was that was two spies, and during the spies that Moshe sent to Eretz Israel, he sent, well, two of them spoke good. Here we see that in the time of Yehoshuah bin Nun, Caleb ben Yefuneh was the one that was still amongst the spy that Moshe Rabbeinu sent. He spoke good, now he's speaking again good, and Pinchas ben Elazar, he also spoke good. Now, we have to understand one very important thing. Pinchas ben Elazar, that's Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah. Remember that. So many of the Mefarshim ask, I don't understand. Pinchas is an angel. Caleb ben Yefuneh is a human being. So the Mefarshim ask, why do you have to hide both of them? You have to hide one of them because the angel can turn himself and you can't see him. The same like the angel when they came to visit, we explained, when they came to visit Avraham Avinu on the third day for his Brit Milah, they look like Arabim, Muslim, okay? As a matter of fact, they turned themselves. So the Mefarshim ask, why did Rahav have to hide both of them on top of a roof? And where did she hide it? The Mefarshim ask. So in the olden days, on the top of the roof, what they used to do, when they used to harvest the land, they used to put all the straw of the wheat to get dry on top of the roof, okay? And Rahav took a Merefek Kalev and she hid them underneath. And the Mefarshim say that Pinhas ben Elazar, she didn't have to hide. Why? Why? Because Pinhas was an angel. He doesn't have to hide. He just turned himself, he said the Shem HaKadosh, and you can't see him. And that's what happened. And that's, for that merit, Rahav will see that being married to be saved, and later on also to marry Yehoshuah ben Nun. And they have kids that turn, as we explained, that they become priest and prophet. Okay, a little bit of explanation about Rahav before we move to chapter 3. Rahav, the Mefarshim say that she was Isha Zona. What is Isha Zona? Some, on the Pshat of the Dvarim, people explain that she was, whatever you want to call it, giving service. But the Mefarshim say, no. She wasn't at all like this. Rahav had a house that it was like an inn, She had a little, bed and breakfast, and people used to stay there. That's one commentary that the Mefarshim bring. There's many other commentary. Rahav, in the end, just to give you a bit of history, she married Yehoshuah ben Nun later on. She converted, and she married Yehoshuah ben Nun. Okay, let's move to chapter 3. In chapter 3, we see something very interesting. Bnei Israel now get ready, prepared for crossing the Jordan River. Okay? And we see that in verse 1 to verse 6, and those verses, Yehoshuah ben Nun prepared Bnei Israel to cross the Jordan River. And that's only after 3 days that he prepared them. And not only that, those 3 days that they make sure they are pure. Betahara, that means that he make them ready, that they will be pure and holy, and then they can cross the Jordan River. Okay? Now, Yehoshuah ben Nun command the officer of Bnei Israel, okay, to make sure to keep the order of walking. What does it mean, the order of walking? That's not so simple like people think. On the top was the priest and the Levite was walking, that they will carry the ark, the Aron HaKodesh, the ark. After them, in a distance of Alpaim Amad, that's a kilometer distance, the rest of Bnei Israel marching after them. That was the job of the officer of Bnei Israel, to make sure that Bnei Israel will keep a distance from the ark and all the vessel of the tabernacle. That was very important. That's how they're going to cross the Jordan River. There is a distance between the Levite, the priest, those that carry the ark, and all the vessel of the tabernacle. A kilometer from them, behind them, will march the rest of Bnei Israel. In verses 7 to 13, and those verses, HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised Yehoshuah ben Nun that he will spread his name, he will praise his name, he will make sure that all Bnei Israel and all the people that surrounding that area and all over the world will hear that Yehoshuah ben Nun is a great man. And not only that, and he promised him that he will be with him the same like he was with Moshe Rabbeinu during the 40 years. That means when Moshe Rabbeinu gone to save Bnei Israel, if you remember, in the age of 40 until the age of 120 that Moshe Rabbeinu died, those 40 years of the last 40 years of his life, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was with him all the time. Here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised him that he will be with him the same like he was with Moshe Rabbeinu. And not only that, he given him a promise that he will help him to conquer and to make sure that he will help him to overcome the 7 nations. And who's the 7 nations? That they are the Canaanite, Aknaani, Hahiti, Hahivi, Haprizi, Hagergashi, Haemori, the Amorite, and Hayevusi. Those the 7 nations that Yeshua have to fight. HaKadosh Baruch Hu given him a promise that he will help him personally to overcome those people. In verses 14 to verses 17, something miracle happened. Here, the miracle of splitting of the Jordan River. Very similar to what happened in Yam Suf. Moshe Rabbeinu split the sea of weeds. The only difference is that there Moshe Rabbeinu split it to 12 pathways, so every tribe gone. The difference here that it wasn't like this. What happened here? The Nach telling us something extraordinary. The water that's coming from the north of the part of the Jordan to the south part of the Jordan flowing down. Yeshua bin Nun, when he crossed the side, wherever they're going to cross, wherever HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him to cross, Yeshua bin Nun split it. That means that the water that was coming from the north to the south, those water from the south onwards gone down, but the new water that's coming from the north, okay, starts piling up like a big, long wave that reached to 12-kilometer height, Rabotai, 12-kilometer height, and the width that they cross the Jordan River, all Bnei Israel, was also 12 kilometers. That means the height of the water, of the wave of the water, reached to 12 kilometer high. Width of the water, it's like a wall, 12 kilometer. 12 kilometer by 12 kilometer. High 12 kilometer, remember? Wide 12 kilometer. Something similar to what's happened with Moshe Rabbeinu, that the ground, the Yabasha, Ve'alchu b'Yabasha. What does it mean, Ve'alchu b'Yabasha? That the ground of the Jordan River was dry, the same that happened with Moshe Rabbeinu when he crossed with Bnei Israel the Yam Suf. That means the Sea of Weeds. That means the ground, instead of being wet, HaKadosh Baruch Hu make another miracle that the ground will be dry. How was the marching? The priest and the Levite that carry the ark and all the vessels of the tabernacle, they was the first one to cross the Jordan River. After them, remember, in a distance, start marching Bnei Israel. And when Bnei Israel, the last one of them, put his feet out, the water starts streaming down again, and the Jordan Valley flew again. So the miracle, remember, in chapter 3 was the splitting of the Jordan River. Let's move on to chapter 4, and with that we're going to conclude today because we're going to do 4 chapters at a time. In chapter 4, we're going to see that Bnei Israel actually crossing the Jordan River and making a monument on big stone that they wrote on it the Torah, as it's described. They wrote the entire Torah on those big stone, and that's in a Gilgal. So what's happening, in chapter 4? In verses 1 to 8, Yeshua here command Bnei Israel, and obviously HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded him to tell Bnei Israel that to take 12 stones. Where? From the Jordan River. Each one of the tribe, each member of one of the tribe, remember we have 12 tribes, that means each member of the tribe took 1 stone. Okay? That each one of these stones, with that they're going to build the monument in a Gilgal. Okay? That's the command of Yehoshuah to Bnei Israel, and he explained to them that HaKadosh Baruch Hu asked that each tribe should bring one stone to build the monument in the Gilgal. In verses 9 to 10, Yehoshuah here speak to Bnei Israel while they all, here they're explaining, while they're all standing in the middle of the Jordan River, while the water piling up and the ground is dry. Here, Yehoshuah bin Nun tell Bnei Israel that those 12 stones that they took, they have to make a monument, okay, of 12 stones inside the Jordan River. In verses 11 to 18, we see something very extraordinary. In those verses, we see the marching of Bnei Israel, how Bnei Israel marching inside the Jordan River, and how is the water coming back after obviously the priest of carrying the ark with the Levite and carrying all the thing that belonged to the tabernacle, all the vessel, you know, they marching first and they're going off the Jordan River. In verses 19 to 24, and those verses, there the Torah explained that when Bnei Israel came out of the Jordan River, okay, they took another 12 stone, okay, and to build a monument. Why did they have to build a monument? Chazal explained that the main reason that they built the monument, it was, number one, that to keep a record and to remind the Jewish people for the miracle, for the splitting of the Jordan River. And not only that, and those big stones to write the entire Torah later on. So what happened? After they crossed the Jordan River, those two big huge stones that they took, they built the monument in the Gilgal. And on those big stones, later on, we'll see that Bnei Israel wrote the entire Torah on it, and that was in memory of crossing and splitting the Jordan River. That's basically the summarize of the first 4 chapters of Yehoshuah. I'm gonna, Be'ezrat Hashem, gonna stop now and give time for you to ask question. And if one of you wanna say anything with pleasure, please unmute the microphone and ask question. I'm here to answer.
Go, Rav.
Thank you. Any question regarding what?
I'm glad you're doing these books because I've been reading them over lockdown, right through Kings and Prophets and all the rest. And like you said in the beginning, we talk very little about them. And it's quite scary how violent all these prophets and all these kings are. And when you have a look at it face value, it's all about killing and taking over and plundering goods and making sure they've got gold and silver. And even in Yehoshuah, in the first chapter already, he's taking out a city. Every single king and every prophet is like a murderer on the surface. And to find the good thing is very small.
Very good, very good, very good point. We'll get to it and you'll see that, a matter of fact, when they managed to conquer, I'm now running a bit ahead, that you'll see that Bnei Israel, once that they manage, and we'll explain how those walls of Jericho, because the wall of Jericho was so wide, and a matter of fact, they've been built with witchcrafting. And Bnei Israel knew that to penetrate to that city, you have to use something that it's not physical. You have to use spiritual thing. We'll explain, please God, next week. But we'll see what's happened with all the gold, the silver, the copper, the steel. What's happening with those? What did it done with the rest of the stuff? What was the command? Many people, it was just looting. People think like this. And we'll see later on in the book that one person done a mistake and the people and the Jewish people didn't done a mistake. He done it on purpose. but he couldn't control his desire. And in the merit of that, some of the Jewish people died. And when Yehoshuah bin Nun asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what's happening here? You promised me that we're going to win. And here we're losing in a battle. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him that someone, a matter of fact, wasn't honest. Not only that he wasn't honest, he touched the spoil. And then you'll see that what the book shown outside, it's not really what's happening inside. That's number one. Number two, I personally, I tell you, I spoke to Dr. Les, I spoke to Rabbi Chiger, because we're studying Havruta, and we spoke about it. And I told them that I'm going to do that. And both of them said to me, many people start with the Gemara. They don't have the basic. Here they love Gemara, and they don't teach basic. And Hazal say, it's especially say in Masechet Avot, in the Ethics of the Father. There, Hazal tell us something extraordinary. Hazal tell us something extraordinary. What did Hazal tell us? Hazal tell us that a person, according to the age, first you start Torah, then you start Nach, okay? There's a certain age. And I don't think that you'll ask many of the Rabbonim in this city and many Rabbonim all over the world, ask him about the Nach, Yehoshuah, Shoftim, Melachim, the kings, the judges. No one knows. For example, and I spoke to that with my wife, you know, all of you heard about Samson. All of you know that Samson was a great man. And on the video, they show you that great long hair, big muscle guy. Shimshon wasn't on that. Shimshon was a handicap in both of his legs. He couldn't walk. Not many people know that. Shimshon was a judge, not like they show it. And you'll ask many of the Rabbonim, they don't know nothing about Nach. Why? Because they skip it. They think that it's so simple. I don't know what is it. I really don't know. But they're moving in straight to the deep end of Gemara. And you'll see that many people, because they didn't done the preparation properly, they burn themselves. And they don't want to learn any more Gemara because Gemara is very difficult. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. You should study Gemara. But you should have a proper foundation. The Hazal tell us, in the age of 7, la Mikra. What it means Mikra? Learn the Tanakh, Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim, to prepare yourself for all of it. You know what I'm saying? And you have to understand that when we go from here, you'll see that after we finish those series of Shorim about Sefer of Yehoshuah, and please God, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give me more string and more wisdom, we'll go through the book of Shoftim to summarize it. You'll see suddenly your knowledge about the Tanakh completely different. Nachon, that if you read the simple book, you look at it simply. You know, many people think David HaMelech was David HaMelech. David HaMelech for 28 years, listen to that, Rabotai, he was fought by his father and his brothers that he's a mamzer. No one knew about it. No one knew about it. When you learn the Tanakh properly, you'll understand what's happening behind it. And that's the beauty of studying the Tanakh. And I hope that you enjoy it, guys. I really hope that you did enjoy the show. And if you have anything that you want extra to ask about the show, please, I'm opening. I'm going to try. I'm open, but I'm going to try to answer your question. Any other question? Bechavot.
So just another one on that point, Rob. Why is there so much violence in?
Sorry, why?
Why is there so much violence when you read that book? Everything is about battles and taking over lands and getting rid of people, and it seems to be quite a common thread through the whole. Now, like you say, Tanakh, not Gemara, and that. There's always a fight. Okay. There's always a command to take someone out, and some of them are quite bloody wars, and they're quite gruesome.
Very good, very good, very good. So I'll try to answer it, and it's like this. First of all, a lot of things happening. The Canaanite, you know who's the Canaanite?
How do you mean? Those in Canaan that we came to take over.
Who's the Canaanite?
Amalek.
No, not at all. That's Africa. The people that live in Africa, they didn't fight against the Jewish people. Akadosh Baruch Hu said to them, you didn't fight with my nation, you surround to them, you didn't fight with them, I'm gonna reward you. He given them Africa, that full, Africa full. Wherever you go in Africa, if you go in South Africa, you go to Zimbabwe, you go to Angola, there's a lot of mine. There is a lot of mineral. Akadosh Baruch Hu reward them for not fighting with Bnei Israel. Did you know that? Not many people know that. The Plishtim
should have taught them how to keep it and not give it. You should have taught them how to keep it and not give it to the Chinese.
So look here carefully. The Plishtim fought with Bnei Israel. That was Goliath. Remember? Until today, we're suffering. You know where's the land of Plishtim? Where's the land of Plishtim? Gaza. Gaza, until today, we're suffering from it. Until the Mashiach comes, the prophet said. And the mystical rabbi said, we'll never have a peace with the Plishtim until Akadosh Baruch Hu will send Mashiach, he will sort them up. But look at the beauty. All of Africa, that's the Knaanim, they've been merit and been rewarded with a lot of miracle. And if you look, Eretz Israel, that they was there before us, okay, before Bnei Israel enter, they surround and they left. Akadosh Baruch Hu look after them. And if you look, we don't have any war with those countries, except that we have with Egypt, that's a Muslim country, but it's not really the Canaanite. But if you look at the Knaanim, Israel have no problem with none of those nations. Why? Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu look after them. Do you understand what I'm saying? So many of people don't understand that. Many people think that Bnei Israel gone to Eretz Israel, to Eretz Canaan, they killed the Canaanite, they killed the Amorite, they killed the Yevusi, the Girgashi, everyone. No, it's not true. We'll see when we go through it. We'll see the war, and we'll see, please God, next week when Bnei Israel manage to conquer the wall. It's not like they break the wall of Jericho. It's mistake number one, because you have to learn it. What's happened? The wall, they didn't took hammer and chisel or big wood like they show you in the movie and hit against the wall or against the door until those doors fall down. It's not at all. We'll learn and we'll understand that the way that they managed to conquer the city of Jericho was all in miracle, all in mystical. And we, Be'ezrat Hashem, will explain why. How does that go to Sukkot? How does that fit with Sukkot? Because what we do on Sukkot, it's a merit to what we done in a city of Jericho. Any question, Rabotai, regarding what we spoke, or if you have any suggestion that you want to learn or you have question about it, please ask. No. Okay, so I wish all of you, number one, keep safe, and I hope that you enjoy it. Again, special Bruchim Habayim to our friend Menachem from Eretz Israel. Personally, when I saw you with those uniform, you give me a great nahas. When I see the kumta and the hel raglim, Reka Adom, it reminds me myself 40 years ago. 40 years ago, I remember when I got the Adan Masa Kumta. I'll speak in English. What I'm saying to Menachem, if you look at the beret, you have a beret. Hel Raglim, it's a common unit. And it reminds me when I started, I needed, before you get the kumta, you have to do certain miles of walking. And underneath that, you have a red plastic. It's called reka adom. And to get that on your beret, you have to do a certain amount of kilometer. Each combat unit have a different kilometer, I don't know. And when I see now Menachem wearing the uniform, it's a bit different to mine, okay, because I'm talking to you so many years ago, 40 years ago, but it's basically the same. I can see the Reka Adom, the red thing that he wear on his beret and his shoulder, it have to be on the right hand side of the, on the shoulder, nothing changed, and it's given me such a nachas. I don't know, I'm telling you, and look at the goose pipe. It just reminds me those years, 40 years ago when I was in Israeli Defense Force. So Menachem, you really make me really proud. I remember I spoke to Menachem 3 years ago, Menachem? Before
No,
it's all started. Am I right?
About what?
When we start speaking about, you remember the first conversation that you and me have?
Right, yeah. I do remember.
It was around 3 years ago, and how we worked through it until we decide that you're going to go to Israel. And Baruch Hashem, Menachem is in Eretz Israel. Just to give you a little bit, Menachem, if you allowed me, just a little bit.
Sure, please.
Menachem, one of the top units in Israel, top combat unit in Israel. And I tell you personally, I wouldn't be embarrassed to be on those units. Many people will be very privileged and very honored to be on those and the combat unit that he is, on that special unit that he is. And big Yisher Koach, Menachem. I take my hat for you. I salute you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Ram.
Yisher Koach. Who else with us? I didn't saw who else with us today. We have Linda. Hello, Linda. Brian, how's it? Dr. Gabriel is with us.
Hello.
Who else with us? Marky. Hello, Marky. Hello, Janet. Thank you for joining us. Stephen, how's it? Philip, it's so nice to see you. Stephen, nice to see you. Who else with us? Leonard, thank you for joining us. Dr. Les with us. Oh, Dina, how are you? Thank you for joining us. So we have Dina here. Dina, just to give you a bit of information, Dina is Menachem's sister. That's Simon's Maruti's daughter, the same like Menachem. Dina is also planning to go to Eretz Israel, Be'ezrat Hashem. By the way, just to give you a bit of knowledge about Dina, Dina was the pioneer of the Maruti family to start the conversion. So Dina, thank you for joining us, and we must be in touch. We'll help you with what we discuss. We need to discuss it more. I think that I have good news for you. So Rabota, if you don't have any question, to wish you all a good night. Keep safe, look after yourself. And I'll see you again on Thursday. Rabota, on Thursday we do on Parashat HaShavua, Be'ezrat Hashem. Again, have a good night. Menachem, look after yourself. And it's nice to see you. Please join us on Thursday. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Rav. Thank you. That was very inspiring. Thank you, Rav.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.